In every draft format, especially in the era of play boosters, I keep hearing people say they're having difficulty finding their lane. With play boosters, the uncommons, not the commons, are driving the format. When should you stick to your early picks and fight for an archetype, and when should you pivot based on signals, given finding the open lane means you'll be past the signpost uncommons later in packs? In this episode, we'll review how to find the open lane, and we'll follow that up by reviewing a sample draft where Ethan Sachs from Lords Limited fell into a trap of pivoting into a late signpost uncommon for a lane that wasn't open. We end up in drastically different decks with a very different expected win rate despite very similar picks until pick 11. This advice applies to all formats, but we'll use Duskmourn as our example. This will be an eye-opener for many of you, and you're not going to want to miss this one. Find the open lane level 1. Identify the most open primary color as early as possible. It's usually pretty clear to find a pattern of what color is being passed your way by the wheel in pick 9. Commit to that color being one of your base colors. Most players know this. What trips some players up is that open color might not be a color you've taken so far. You need to be mindful of the colors passed your way that you didn't take. It contributes to the evidence that that color is open when it continues to be passed your way in later picks. Some players lock into the colors they took early because they can't stand the fact they've been passing cards of a color they didn't know was open until later in the draft. Don't be that person. You will pass good cards of an open color in order to take equally good cards of a closed color, and you couldn't know which colors were open or closed until later. Find the open lane level 2. Favor but don't commit yourself to an archetype until you see that archetype is open. You've committed to being one color, but you're looking for your secondary color. You'll usually have a couple options open to your seat for a secondary color. Know what archetypes involving your primary color are good and which ones are bad enough to avoid. For an episode going over avoiding bad archetypes, our most popular episode to date, check out the link above. You sometimes identify your archetype by end of pack 1, but you can actually go much longer without identifying your second color compared to identifying your first color. While on average I identify my second color before the wheel in pack 2, I sometimes go as long as the end of pack 2 before I lock in. It's important to use the knowledge of what secondary colors you were passed in pack 1 to determine where to lock in even in pack 2, because pack 3 will come the same direction as pack 1. Find the open lane level 3. Don't fall for signpost uncommons in colors that aren't open to your seat. It's possible to be passed a signpost uncommon late simply because no one is playing that archetype. That means that archetype is open, right? Wrong. It's possible the person to your right is playing one of the signpost colors, and the person to their right is playing the signpost's other color. Going into that archetype means fighting two players to your right for both of those colors. That's a recipe for getting weak cards for your deck and missing playables. Now let's review Ethan's draft where he falls into these traps and discuss how they could have been avoided.
Well, what's up, everybody? We are back in the best of one streets in Duskmourn draft, and the picks that I am always going to be between Scorching Dragonfire and something else. It looks like no bomb for me. Enduring Tenacity I'm not a fan of. 4 mana 4/3, and then that's the thing that like comes back as an enchantment whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Though it could be a cool build around, I suppose. Like do it early, wheel, let's play a game. Like I kind of want to cook a little bit, but I'm also feeling like I just want to win. So I think if you're trying to win, I think the picks are between Dragonfire and Unwilling Vessel. And Vessel is great, but I just think Dragonfire is primo, and that is going to be my pick.
While you'd love to open a bomb, Scorching Dragonfire is a pretty good start. It's the second best common in the set next to Trapped in the Screen, but I'd even take it over Trapped in the Screen since it's red, which is tied with green for the most open color. I'm happy to be in all of Red's archetypes, except for red-blue, which is more than I can say of white, blue, or black.
Pick. And then here, the power level drops off pretty dramatically. I'm still not sold on Split Up. I have seen this be good once, but I think it's just generally pretty awkward. 1 white, just choose one, destroy all tapped creatures or destroy all untapped creatures. It's just hard to set up a spot where this is really doing the thing for you. I think we're just going to take another removal spell and Trapped in the Screen. Maybe we do Boros Control. Could be sweet. Boros Control Rooms, Jeskai Rooms. I'm trying to chase the Rooms high from yesterday. Man, that was good. Yeah, I mean, really nothing else. I guess Spineseeker Centipede is the other card that I would think about here, but not taking that over.
There's no red card up for consideration, might as well take the best card in the pack, Trapped in the Screen.
We're trapped. And there's a Painter Studio. I mean, so if I had so we could have taken black card, that black rare was the other option. Or I guess you could have taken the blue. I think whatever you take first, you're taking trapped second. And then if we had taken the black rare, then I think Shroud Stomper's a real consideration. That's pretty cool. And I think if we had taken the blue uncommon, the 3/2, I think you probably still take Painter Studio. Painter Studio is just ridiculous. If you saw this the other day in our Boros deck, I guess it was in the Rooms deck yesterday as well. But we're just going to take Painter Studio here.
Painter Studio is the best card in the pack. Wickerfolk Thresher is high upside, and it's notable no one took it in the first couple picks. Take Painter Studio and be on the lookout for signs of green being open. Shroud Stomper is a powerful card for a weak deck. I'm not never drafting black-white, but I need to be shown the lane is completely open before I consider it.
And 4 red cards, none of which I'm really that excited about. Yeah, Grab the Prize, Beastie, Filler, Pyroclasm, extremely narrow in terms of decks that you wanted, and Ripper, I think, is also, like, pretty narrow in terms of, we'll know when we want to take this. So then that leaves me with Conductive Machete and Tunnel Surveyor as the 2 cards I'm leaning between. I think I'm just going to take Surveyor. Machete is colorless, air quotes, but I don't think, if I do end up red-white, I'm not going to want it. If I end up red-green, I will want it. But honestly, if I'm red-green, I probably just take Manifest Dread because it's a 2. I like Tunnel Surveyor enough. It's slightly off.
This is where I have a slight pivot from Ethan's draft. Similar to Ethan, I'm looking at Conductive Machete, Tunnel Surveyor, Manifest Dread, and also Jump Scare. I will write off Jump Scare because it's really just a red-white card, and while you're on that path, it's replaceable and able to be picked up later. I will also write off Tunnel Surveyor since I only want to play that in blue-white, and you're on a decent-looking red path. Conductive Machete is colorless and a decent consideration, but it's a 4-drop, and I'm more interested in locking in more powerful 2-drops. Manifest Dread is green's second best common, and given you already saw a green Wickerfolk Thresher pass, I'd speculate on green being open and pick that up here.
Awkward that we passed the 3/2, and there's a Fear of Being Hunted and a Glassworks. Shattered Yard as the 2 best cards in this pack as far as I can tell. Yeah, I guess like Break Down the Door is fine. Fear of Immobility is impressed. Cautious Survivor is fine. I'm going to take Fear of Being Hunted. It's just great to get this early. And Most Valuable Slayers are still going.
Pick 5 is typically the first pick where I can start noticing clear signals. The fact that Fear of Being Hunted and Break Down the Door are both in this pack is promising for the red-green path, and I'll start assuming I'm on that path unless another path clearly opens itself up. I'm taking the Fear of Being Hunted as the best card for red-green. It's fast aggro and 2 types for Delirium, exactly what red-green wants.
Going pretty darn late. Here's a spot where we can take a Hand That Feeds, just get a little deeper into red. We could also take a Peculiar Lighthouse. Got a comment that someone said I was too low on this card. My feeling about Hand That Feeds is that it is not at its best in red-white. Like, it's basically a red-green gold card. Like, I think it's fine everywhere, but I don't think you ever miss it. Though I have gotten my face beaten in by it a little bit. I think I might just take the Lighthouse with nods to being Jeskai, being red-blue, whatever. I'm not crazy about this card. I'm gonna be honest. I don't love it. I'll take the Lighthouse here.
Notice we're on pick 6, and we currently have exactly the same deck as Ethan, except for a Manifest Dread in place of his Tunnel Surveyor. But we're going to end up in very different decks, and the divergence starts here. What separates the very top players from the rest is their ability to recognize the kinds of cards that have been coming their way that they haven't picked. You saw decent green cards coming your way, even outside pick 4, where we took Manifest Dread. And in this pick, you see both a Break Down the Door and a Wary Watchdog. You're clearly getting red, so you're looking for a color to pair with red, which is anything except blue. And that's because at this point in the format, red-blue Rooms is one of the weakest archetypes. In a vacuum, you could consider Veteran Survivor at a 59.1% win rate in red-white, but you really haven't seen good white cards except the Trapped in the Screen pick 2. You could pick Hand That Feeds as a playable card in both red-white or red-green, but it's a mediocre card in both at around 55% win rate in both archetypes. Or you could recognize green has been opened to pair with red and take one of the cards that has an over 57% win rate in red-green, which is either Wary Watchdog or Break Down the Door. Both help fuel Delirium and are about equally as good in this deck. I'd take Wary Watchdog as the cheaper card in a deck that can't have enough 2-drops, but would be fine with either pick.
Take a little bit of fixing, and then... Can we take Shroud Stomper? It's a late Shroud Stomper, and we could do Mardu Reanimator, right? The Rummage card, the Tormenting Voice, whatever, discard a card, draw 2, goes really late, and maybe we can end up like red, white, or red, black splash and reanimate, which I think could be good, because otherwise we're taking like Gorge or Clown or Urge. I just don't care about any of these cards, and I think Shroud Stomper is the most.
There will be picks where you don't have great options. Violent Urge is okay for your deck, as is Moldering Gym, but in picks like this, I like to take Fixing to keep me open in case I want to splash. I'd take Razor Trap Gorge to open myself to splashing black bombs, or good uncommons like Brood Spinner or Drag to the Roots. I think this is another level up. When you're otherwise going to take a card you're likely to cut, even if you're not in a splash color, open up your draft possibilities by taking Fixing. Yes, it's a late Shroud Stomper, but it's not like you've been seeing black or white. It's likely one person to your right is drafting black, and the other person to your right is drafting white. Neither is taking Shroud Stomper because they aren't black-white. It doesn't mean the lane is open to you.
Most impactful of that bunch. And like, how am I supposed to not draft red when I get a Betrayer's Bargain pick 8? I don't know. I don't know. Who's doing this? Grab the Prize. That's what it's called. Man, I don't know any card names. They're just in one ear, out the other. Yeah, Grab the Prize. That's the card that we might go for if we're doing a Shroud Stomper thing. But we're just going to take Betrayer's Bargain here.
You're right to snap up Betrayer's Bargain here. We keep noticing other cards in the pack, but all but one of them absolutely suck. Vanish from Sight is a good card in blue-green, but that's about it. It's not surprising no one took it, since your seat is open to green. Don't take this as a signal.
And we've got, like all of our drafts, we know we're red, and then we've got options otherwise of what to do. The wheel, and I'd say early pack 2 will largely dictate that for us. All right, and here, let's play a game did wheel. We could have maybe done some cool, though black has not seemed that open. Could have tried to do a cool life gain build around with that rare. I think I just take Grab the Prize here. We're not a particularly good Ripper deck, and I don't need to take a black card. And we do have
I'd also take Grab the Prize and plan not to play it. The other cards in your color pair aren't good enough to play. Yes, there's 3 black cards in the pack, but don't take the number of cards as being a signal. You need good cards to be a signal, and these aren't particularly good black cards.
Reason to draft Shroud Stomper. And then Centipede Wheels, which is wild to me because it was one of the cards I felt like was worth shouting out when we took Trapped in the Screen. I think it was the only other card worth considering. So that is a late Centipede, and I will take it over Innocuous Rat and Inferno.
The fact that Violent Urge and Impossible Inferno are in this pack make me very happy to be in red-green, since both are most often played in red-green. That said, Spineseeker Centipede is the best card in the pack, great in red-green when it hits Delirium, and also leaves you more open to your future black fixing. It's also green's winningest common. Note how Ethan now notices that green is open. Even with his current deck, it's not too late to switch into red-green here. He should know he'll be hooked up with more Centipedes and other green cards in pack 3 and jump into that deck. I'd also snatch up Spineseeker Centipede, moving to pick 11.
And the second Shroud Stomper wield. Okay. All right, I think I want to try and do...
No, he's being tempted by the Shroud Stomper even though black and white aren't open to his seat. That's a recipe for disaster and not making playables. To be fair, he did say he kind of felt like cooking at the start of the draft, but he also said he preferred winning. I mean, his other option of Ticket Booth is just a fine 56.4% win rate in red green, but I'm taking that as I know I'm not making Shroud Stomper work.
Some kind of reanimator deck, like either red white or red black, and load up on these grab the prize.
I'm taking Bedhead Beastie here. It's a decent 18th land, which can be helpful to hit color needs if we decide to splash. And it's something to turn over for Manifest. I'm likely to cut it, but it helps give me options.
There's a Balemerk Leech.
I'm actually taking the island here. It's a very small strategic advantage, but remember, your partner is with the players sitting next to you in the draft. I have 0% chance of playing the Balemerk Leech, and I want to tell my partner to my left that info and invite them to play black if they're on the fence about doing so.
Cracked Skull could happen.
We end up with a Cracked Skull, likely to be the player on the right doing exactly what we just did and communicate they aren't playing black. While it really doesn't impact us at all, I am happy to see it since we might splash black if we see a bomb, and this means the player to our right is less likely to pick up a bomb from pack 3. Moving on to pack 2.
Okay, Dissection Tools. Let's go. That's a very good card. Be on the lookout for a handful of things, right? Some ways to reanimate, obviously, and maybe some fixing if we're thinking about just straight up. No, there's no way we're gonna straight up cast these, right? No, we just want to find ways to get it in the bin. Which Manifest Dread is also a nice way to do that. It's also, I guess we can't flip it up. So Dissection Tools, if we end up red-black sack, Vengeful Possession might wheel some good-ish white cards. I guess Glimmer Seeker is good, Cheerleader is whatever, and then not much else in this pack. Maybe a turn Inside Out, but thrilled to see.
We get a colorless bomb and Dissection Tools, and we take it.
Dissection Tools, I like that card a lot. And here, there's a Threats Around Every Corner, which is only interesting in that Spineseeker Centipede went so late. There's a Valgavoth's Lair for fixing, there's a Haunted Screen for fixing, and then there's what I'm probably going to land on, which is Glassworks Shattered Yard, is just another red removal spell. Trial of Agony, fine too, but I prefer it more when you're beating down. Most Valuable Slayer, obviously good with Fear of Being Hunted. But I think we just take Glassworks.
The two cards I think are viable picks are the Threats Around Every Corner and Glassworks, which is a close pick. Threats Around Every Corner is the better card, but we only have one card that manifests Dread so far. Still, I like keeping the splash option open, and we do have 2 packs to pick up more Manifest Dread. I'm taking the Threats Around Every Corner.
There's an Arabella. There's also Unsettling Twins. Gosh, I'm gonna end up not doing this reanimator stuff, aren't I? All right, Surveyor's gone, Lighthouse is gone, Centipede likely gone. Trapped hangs out there. Thing is, right now is we don't have threats, and so I mean Arabella is just good. It's just a good card, and we also haven't seen any reanimator cards. We have grabbed the prize Shroud Stomper to pitch them, but we haven't seen the white reanimate spells yet. Okay, take Arabella. At least wheel a Mana Cycler, I would imagine. Passing Brood Spinner.
We get Manifest Dread, however, we get the bomb in Brood Spinner. We're taking the Brood Spinner and splashing it.
And Fear of Surveillance is kind of nice for the Reanimate Life. There's a Sporogenic Infection, which I do really like, but we have a lot of removal, and we have, I think, a little bit more of a reason to be white than black at the moment. There's an Altenac, there's a Manifest Dread, but we'll just take Fear of Surveillance.
Now we get the Manifest Dread. Yes, there's an Altenac, but that only has a 54.8% win rate in red-green. I've come down on that card since the beginning of the set. We're happy to pick up the Manifest Dread.
Unsettling Twins. Intruding Soul Rager, we have 2 rooms right now, and then Under the Skin. Do we think that Threats Around Every Corner wheels? There's just no way. I think we take Twins. And move into white, and probably just give up on this dream of the grab the prize Shroud Stomper, though it It still could happen. It still could
We get one of the best uncommons in the set in Under the Skin, and as a bonus, it manifests Dread.
happen. Hey, there it is. There's a merge. And there's twins. I think we just have to try. Gotta try and do something sweet, I think. Otherwise, I'm just gonna lose my mind, and y'all can't watch me draft Boros aggro again. Like, we could take twins, and twins is probably correct, but I'm gonna take a merge here and try and do something fun.
This is one of those picks where I wish there was some kind of fixing. Any kind of mana fixing. The most similar to fixing is Bedhead Beastie. Let's take our second copy of that, even though I doubt we're playing two.
Here is nothing. There's live or die in case, I guess, we go red-black. That seems unlikely. Violent Urge, Saw, Friendly Ghost. Yeah, I'll take live or die just in case.
I'm taking another Wary Watchdog as a good 2-drop that helps our Delirium.
And, oh, this wasn't even our opening pack, but all these kinds of cards are here. Percussionist is awkward with the cards that we have. We don't sacrifice stuff. We have some enchantments. We also have a Beastie and a Sporogenic Infection. Probably just take Cult Healer. We've got a handful of enchantments. I think that's just a fine.
I'm taking Clockwork Percussionist. People are sleeping on this card. It gets in for early chip damage, chump blocks late to effectively gain life, and draws you a card, and adds 2 types to the yard for Delirium. I'm not saying it's a bomb or anything, but I can't see myself cutting it from our deck.
Fine pickup. Friendly Teddy. There were some Soul Ragers this pack as well. I guess we take Vengeful Possession. It also lets us loot.
I'm also taking Vengeful Possession. It's possible to play when you have few sorceries and finishers. I'm also happy to cut off red just in case anyone's waffling into red.
And there's a Trial of Agony. Sure. I should probably play it.
I'm also picking up Trial of Agony, 50-50 on whether we play it or cut it.
It depends. There's a Beastie and a Rat. Do I think there's a world where we end up black? I do think there's a possibility. I'm not crazy about
I have no good reason to take any card here. I guess Beastie.
these, and we get one anyway.
We seriously get a Manifest Dread pick 12? We clearly found the right lane here.
Manifest Dread last, Intruding Soul Rager last, so we could have done that. Another Mana Cycler.
We get a couple of duds, and we move on to pack 3.
There's a Faithful. There is a Faithful, which... Okay. So, we could drop the white and go red-black. Potentially makes possession a little better. Oh, there's a Dragonfire in this pack, though? Dang it. We got Leech, Skull, Beastie. Do we think this can wheel? I think it can. With the Shroud Stompers going so late, I think it can. There's also just a Mayhem, but it doesn't really feel like that's the deck. I'm taking Dragonfire.
There's a Scorching Dragonfire. If we're happy to pack 1, pick 1/1, we're happy to pack 3, pick 1/1.
Just go in mono removal, and we'll continue to do so. Shepherding Spirits is interesting if we end up red-black. Glasswork, Shattered Yard. Yes, but how does
We get a Signpost uncommon in Beastie Beatdown.
your deck win? That's the question. Ooh, Optimistic Scavenger? No. We're thinking about red-black. We're thinking about Fear of Burning Alive and Wheeling Grab the Prize. And we're doing something weird. We can also Splash Emerge if we're red-black. Splash Emerge, Splash, Trapped. Cut the rest. Find Fixing. That's a key as well. Our types are good. 4 creatures. You love to see that. 4.
We get 3 cards we want in Fear of Burning Alive, Drag to the Roots, and Spineseeker Centipede, but Fear of Burning Alive is the best card for our deck, and we're happy to pick up top end. You also want to limit your splashes, so Drag to the Roots goes down. I'd probably be on Spineseeker before Drag to the Roots, but we take Fear of Burning Alive here.
4 creatures, 2 of them being Shroud Stomper. That's hilarious. I guess Painter Studio to face Gallery is also bad when you're not aggro. And possession is a little awkward. Okay, what do we got? What do we go? Cynical Loner. That's what's up. That's excellent. Tutor up Shroud Stomper, get it in the bin, and we have so much removal to jam it through. Okay.
This is an interesting pick. 4 cards stand out to me. Oblivious Bookworm for the second splash, Clockwork Percussionist, Frantic Strength if we feel we need more enchantments for Delirium, and Found Footage to help us enable Delirium. Honestly, I think I'm taking the Bookworm here. It just has the highest upside of filtering through cards and even drawing us some cards. We'll want some blue fixing to play it, but if we pick it up, it's great. No, if we were short on playables, I would take a more conservative play, but we're so open, I'm willing to gamble.
And Disturbing Mirth is a great draw here. We don't really have a way to sacrifice it other than Bargain, but we have tons of stuff to sacrifice. Nowhere to Run, Glassworks, I guess that's it. Innocuous Rat. Is there something else that I want to take here? Let's play a game. Savior. No, we'll take Mirth. We're good.
Another thing to be on the lookout for is cards that leave you outs in particular decks. There's nothing really here for us, but we have picked up a lot of Manifest Dread cards, meaning it's possible decking ourselves is a concern. Let's pick up a Malevolent Chandelier as our out.
And Fanatic. Another way for us to discard. I'll take it.
The 3 cards that intrigue me are Machete, Inferno, and Found Footage. Found Footage is looking less and less attractive since we picked up a lot of Manifest Dread. Inferno is interesting since all of our removal is smaller, but I still think Machete is the choice based on our Manifest Dread synergies. In a pinch, it makes our creatures bigger to attack in.
There is Sporogenic Infection, I think, is nice with Disturbing Mirth over Machete. And certainly don't want Percussionist. Machete is interesting, but we're just never flipping up Stompers, so...
I'd take a look at our low drop creature counts before writing off Weary Watchdog, but we're looking okay there. Let's take another Machete.
Let's take that. Take another Glassworks, or do we take a Ripper? If we don't wheel that third Grab the Prize, I mean, our deck is already terrible, but whatever. I'm trying to feel something.
Given we found the open lane, we have a ton of cards we're interested in here. I'd be happy with the Fungus, Glassworks, Cartographer, or Beastie, probably in that order. Except the thing is, there's fixing. We like fixing when we already have good playables. So let's take the Strangled Cemetery.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this Painter Studio. Weirdly enough. Because, like, exiling these is super awkward. This wasn't the pack. There's Cultist or Mayhem. I'm also, like, trying to splash white, and I have no way to do so, so that's great.
Here we take the Watchdog.
All right, we got one. We got a Shepherd. How else do we...
Here it's between Flesh Burrower and Moldering Gym. I think we take the Moldering Gym because we have enough 2-drops and wouldn't mind the extra fixing and top end of Weight Room.
Loot. This can get in the bin. 2 of these rummage. I guess I do just need outs to cast it too, so
We even get a Drag to the Roots.
we'll just be running some white sources. I think this is it's Found Footage could be good.
And a Found Footage.
Probably not though. It's interesting because
The last couple of picks are duds and we move on to seeing what Ethan thinks of his deck. Then we'll review how our deck compares. But before we move on, I want to thank our subscribers for their support. Our subscriber count has grown 50% since the start of Duskmourn, and we want to continue that strong growth to the end of the format to encourage us to keep making content. But to do that, we need your help. If you could please take a minute to hit that subscribe button and even tap that like button down below, it's your totally free way of saying, hey, I like your content, you should continue to make more of it. In fact, this next part is completely due to a commenter on a previous Bloomborough video. They suggested after these draft videos to post how our final deck looked in comparison to the original drafter's deck. As such, we're taking action and comparing decks. So I'll give you a second to go ahead and click the subscribe button and the like button and back to our video.
You know, because we're so removal heavy, I do think cutting this is right. What do we got here? Loner's good, Rat's good. Maybe I should have taken one of those machetes. Cultist seems fine. I don't need to splash trapped. I have plenty of removal, right? Trial, nowhere to run, Sporogenic Infection, Betrayer's Bargain, double Scorching Dragonfire, Live or Die potentially, double Glassworks. Okay, I don't need that. I probably also don't need to run Trial, and maybe I want to play Found Footage instead. That seems reasonable. And, oh yeah, this also discards. That's nice. 8, 7. Okay. Or does that mean I should play? I could also do... No, I'll just do 8, 7 and not mess with the beastie. Okay. I don't have high hopes for this deck, but I have high hopes that we will maybe have some fun.
Ethan went 2 and 3 with his deck. I want to be clear that while Ethan fell for some traps, I think he's an excellent player. In fact, my last draft review was of Paul Cheon's Arena Open in Bloomborough, and I think he's the best drafter on YouTube. Click the link up above if you're interested in seeing that. But I think Ethan has the best podcast on YouTube with Lords Limited. He just fell for some traps in this particular draft, and I'm pretty sure he'd agree with me. Now let's see how our deck compares. We are a fast deck that comes out swinging with Clockwork Percussionist, Weary Watchdog, and Manifest Dread. We clear the way with Trial of Agony, Scorching Dragonfire, Betrayer's Bargain, and Beastie Beatdown. We continue to field Delirium with our higher mana cost cards, all manifesting Dread. We finish them off with a Fear of Burning Alive, Splash Brood Spinner, and even have a Splash Drag to the Roots. To get our black mana, we have Spineseeker Centipede, threats around every corner, even under the skin in a pinch if we have to get it out of the graveyard. We have 17 lands with 8 sources of both red and green, and 3 sources of black. Now let's look at what we cut. Found Footage isn't necessary as we have other Manifest Dread ways of getting to Delirium. We never picked up the fixing for Oblivious Bookworm, and it's stretching our mana too far to try to do so. The rest of the cards didn't have enough power level to compete to make the 40 card cut. There's no way to know for sure, but this looks like a trophy deck to me. I hope you enjoyed the strategy overview, draft walkthrough, and deck comparison. Let us know if there's any changes to this content you prefer. These kind of videos are getting a lot of views, so we'll plan to make more of them. A reminder to please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell down below to see when we release more. And with that, until next time.